Angie,
John.
did you finish that episode introduction I asked you to do for this week?
Sorry, John. I was going to do it this morning, but then the coffee machine broke, and then I had to feed the dogs and do my hair and make myself look gorgeous for recording, which I don't know if that worked or not.
No, it did. You look great. But I asked you to do this last week, not last night.
I know, but stuff came up.
So we have no intro for the show today.
Well, I'm sure you'll think of something. You're really good at that.
Okay, give me a moment.
What's our topic for today?
Wait a minute. You didn't even look at today's topic.
I told you, stuff came up.
It's procrastination.
I know what it's called.
Our topic today is procrastination.
Oh, that seems remarkably convenient.
I guess we have our intro. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie, the show for professional coaches that explores the ins and outs of coaching, from working with clients through to running and marketing your coaching business.
If you're a professional coach who's committed to your own personal and professional growth, cares about making a difference, and wants to have a successful coaching business, you're in the right place.
My name's John Ball.
And I'm Angela Bezignano.
Between us, we have over 50 years of coaching experience and best practices to share with you. From getting started to scaling up your business.
We know what works and what doesn't, as well as what it really takes to have a successful and thriving coaching business.
With new episodes every Wednesday.
Make sure you're subscribed to get them fresh.
I just want everybody to know that, when I saw this, when this came up, I thought to myself, I think John's trying to communicate with me through the intro for today.
It was very subtle.
Oh, yeah, it was super subtle. But I had such a chuckle because I think he literally took pieces of conversations we've had where I'm like, this came up, that came up in other ways, and decided that would be a good intro. So I'm just saying, I'm coming for you. I'm just telling you.
Are you feeling a little bit attacked, Angie, with that intro today?
No, I'm good. I just think it's hilarious that I had to be the procrastinator in today's warm-up. Just saying.
Yeah. It's almost as if there was a reason for that, right? But look, it's about time we got round to this. We've been putting off procrastination for a little while ourselves. We want to talk about things like when's the best time to be taking action and whether there's a cure for procrastination. We want to do things like have a look at what the causes usually are for people to procrastinate and how to go around coaching people who are actually in that position. Let me ask you that. I think we want to probably cover this from both perspectives of coaching people who are procrastinating and our listener, the coach who may be finding themselves procrastinating as well. Let's start off with our own procrastination, perhaps, and like others coaches. What has been your experience of procrastination? Is it an issue for you? Do you find yourself doing it? And if you do, when and what impact has that had? A lot of questions.
There's a lot there. Like, wow, let me unpack that for a minute. So do you want to know, for me as a coach or as a human, where I procrastinate, if I procrastinate?
I guess both, but probably more relevant if there's areas of your coaching business and practice where you've done that.
Yeah, I think there's an overarching theme that probably plays into both parts of my life, right? If something is difficult to do, I definitely have the tendency to go, let me put that in its own space because it's going to distract me from other things, which is, in my mind, like it's a high level way of approaching it. But I think in terms of my business, anything that is super technologically, like I need to do something, I'm working on something right now, and it's been like 7 days, and I come to it, and there's some type of speed bump for me, challenge, and I go, nope, and I just walk away. So and I have the time. It's not a matter of the time. It's like I just mentally, I don't want to deal with it. So I push it off. And before I know it, here I am, TikTok 7 days later, and I haven't done it. And I have to do it. It's not even something that I can delegate. It's not something I can delegate, right? So yeah, so I would say for me that if something is difficult or challenging or a space that I'm not familiar, I tend to procrastinate. So for my business, it's usually in that tech space first.
For me, maybe a little different. The results probably end up being the same in the long run, but I procrastinate from overthinking. I will get into analysis paralysis quite often because I'll overthink things. And it is an element of, I've heard it called perfectionism or perfectionating, like that cross between procrastination and perfectionism. And there's some truth to that. I don't see it as being perfectionism, but if I think about it, sometimes if I'm not 100% sold on what I'm doing, I won't always just go for it. I'll hold back. And that is procrastination, rather than just going for it and figuring stuff out along the way.
Right.
I have to think everything through and feel like I have to have everything ready before I'll really go full charge into it. That has been probably one of the things that has personally helped me back a lot more than many other things.
So, yeah, I think that's something that I've seen and experienced. It's not something I personally do, but I think to your point, my background came from the sales arena, and sales is hard. I don't care who you are, sales is hard. So what I saw as a theme for a lot of people is that they would throw themselves into the education space so that they wouldn't actually have to go out and sell whatever their product was. Meaning they might go, you know what? I feel like I'm having a hard time with this. So I'm going to go get, whether it's a certification or I'm going to go sit in this class or I'm going to learn more. And they tell themselves like, and once I do that, then I'll be ready. And they become lifelong students that dabble a little bit. They have a little bit, they have to earn something, right? Lights on, bellies full. But what they don't realize is that they spend years. I actually had a client, I used to call her like the professional student. You are a professional student. Do you want to be a professional realtor because she was that particular person's space? Or do you want to be the professional student because you've got all the education you need to do the next step? That doesn't mean that we can't grow and do more, right? And get more certifications that are specific, whatever. But when you do that, she didn't even realize it though. The beauty of it was that she like had this confused look on her face for a minute because this was a live, that's how long ago it was, in person. And all of a sudden she was like, oh my gosh, yes. And guess what? She actually became a top producer because she realized that, was able to identify when she would get uncomfortable in a situation. And instead of running to the next seminar, she would do what she needed to do and push through that. So it took time, though. It took her a good year to get out of that way, get out of her own way, I should say.
Yeah. I've seen it. I've probably even done it a bit. Not as I recognized it was an issue before it became a big issue for me. But I have seen people really hiding away from, I would almost say hiding away from the real world or real life. Maybe the difference between having your food delivered to your house or going out and hunting for yourself, growing your own crops, is that was the analogy that came into my head anyway. Is that there's one part where we can stay in your own safe little world, or you can actually go out there and do the thing that gets you the results. But there's a big gulf between those two things, and there's a big difference between some. I'm not saying academic knowledge isn't worthwhile. It is. But there's a big difference between academic knowledge and practical knowledge a lot of the time. Like a lot of the people who are in academia full time don't have necessarily a lot of practical real world experience of the things they teach. They have a lot of knowledge about everything that's gone on, but they've never actually done it. Well, I say never, I shouldn't say never, but often they haven't done it themselves. They just have the theory rather than the practice. I am a very big believer in the wisdom of Lao Tse, and probably one of the wisest men who ever lived, that to know and not to do is to not truly know. Having information isn't really knowing. You just have data. But until you do it, until you can practically apply the stuff and be out there doing it, you don't really know. And I think a lot of people are afraid of putting themselves in that position where you actually are going to be finding out and encountering the real world.
I think that we naturally, and I think this is not to give everybody the excuse, but we just, as human beings, our brains, right? We're wired to avoid things that are uncomfortable. It's fear-based. It's all fear-based. All of it at its core. If you were to peel away all the layers, it's a fear of something. For some people, it's failure. I don't like not knowing. I'm so used to knowing or how to do things that this makes me overly uncomfortable. But honestly, that's how our brains are wired, that it's like sensing danger and it's telling us that. So we get those feelings of discomfort. We pull away from things. And because we want to feel productive, we do something we think is logical about it. I know this is like a crazy path, but that's what happens. That's where procrastination, it's not. Listen, I'm going to say there are people in the world who are absolutely lazy, right? There are people who would rather the work smarter, not harder wasn't a positive thing, right? It was like, yeah, I'm just not feeling that. Okay, you're not that person. You're not going to light the world on fire. But so that's not it, because I think a lot of people, when they feel like they are procrastinating, they then start this conversation with themselves that they're a little bit lazy about it. And that goes into a whole other direction.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure where we draw the line between procrastination and apathy, but I think there is a line there. And they are different things. Laziness and apathy are not the same necessarily, but I do think procrastination can lead you down that path, potentially. I have a particular view on procrastination that maybe I've picked up from also different places, or maybe it's just been from years of coaching, I don't know, but this is my view, that it's a habit that we fall into because we haven't practiced the opposite, which would be proactivity. We're more likely to fall into a habit of procrastination and putting things off, or not doing things right away, at least, which is all the same thing, if we haven't ever practiced that or been conditioned or raised in a way that would encourage us to do that. So I do think that I certainly have seen people who have been more conditioned in their youth from their families to be action takers, to be proactive about things. And that has been trained in from an early age. I certainly saw it when I used to study martial arts, kickboxing in particular. First martial art I ever did was kickboxing. And
really?
If you can believe it, yeah.
Did you see me leaning in? I'm like, really?
Really? Did you? Yes, I got a black belt in kickboxing, I'll have you know.
Really?
Although I'm not sure I can do it anymore. This was a long time ago. I was a lot younger. But it was a lot of fun. The point I'm getting to is to see the young people, the kids in the club, were growing up with a really strong sense of discipline, of self-discipline. And the martial arts practice itself was a conditioning of personal discipline and proactivity. There was always that encouragement. There was that training to get you into that kind of mindset. It's one of the reasons why I think if you did martial arts for no other reason than to train your mindset, it would still be worthwhile.
Yeah.
So I do see that part of it. And I do think that procrastination is really just what happens when we haven't had that kind of conditioning growing up, that we fall into it's very natural to fall into a habit of just putting things off and waiting to the last moment. And very often it's that lastminute.com kind of sensation that we have of, oh, now it's urgent, the thing that I've been putting off, does actually get the heart racing, can actually pull a lot of resources out of us in a very short space of time. Like sometimes we can race to the finish line when we've got 2 hours left before. Like when I was 21, 22 years old and staying up until the early hours of the night to hand in my English dissertation, that kind of thing, because I'd left it so late to get started on working on it. That kind of thing of, sometimes you can meet the deadlines. Even then I still look back and think, okay, it doesn't really matter so much now.
But you're creating chaos in your life. You could wait until the last minute. And I love when I hear people say, and if any of you are listening and you feel insulted by this, but I love when I hear people say, I'm the person that I thrive, like I do my best work under pressure. Stop it. Don't even come to me with that, because what you're telling me is you really don't know how to function and plan and be productive. That's really what it comes down to, because procrastination, there are habits that we can incorporate that help us to actually be productive. Procrastination is the polar opposite of being productive. It just is.
It is the thing of you're demonstrating that you are reactive instead of proactive.
Right.
You're reacting to the stress, the urgency, rather than actually doing things in good time. Because even if you did, you'd still probably want to have that time before your final deadline. Imagine if you had that time to review everything that you've done, think, make a few corrections, fix a few errors before you actually submit some work or deliver the presentation, whatever it is, you're going to be so much more prepared. I certainly, I'll say this, I've had the experience, especially in my university days, of feeling like I performed better under that last minute pressure, because the times when I did maybe take a lot more time to research and stuff didn't go so well. But that was ultimately because that was a new thing to me. Like, reacting to the pressure was what I was familiar with, but the taking time to research and do all the work was new to me. And I wasn't quite in the swing with it. So I went back to what would seem to work better for me.
Sure. Listen, but it's a created habit. It's what we become because it's what I did. So you're saying like, hey, when I was in college, and I did it, I'm not sitting here on some high horse going, I never did that. Yeah, you know what? I was more about, let's have a good time and I'll do the stuff I have to do later because that was just how I did it. I work really hard not to do that anymore because for me, when I am actually fair and I actually do something with advance notice and I put time and energy into it versus last minute kind of thing, the work I do when I actually put time and energy into it is so much better. That's for me, but I have something to compare it to. You know what I mean? I have something that I'm like, okay, what do I look like when I'm reactive versus I'm being proactive? And I think that there's a lot of people who realize that they're procrastinators. And I think there's people who don't have a clue that they're procrastinators. So I think how do you get them to that point? Sometimes it's just through a line of questioning, but I feel like it's more about putting some systems into place, productivity systems into place that will help shift away from that. Again, if somebody who's high level comes to me and says, this is just how I plan on doing it, and you know what, I can't help you. If you're not willing to be open to the change, then we can't help you. Understanding what you said, I think, was diamond, right? Love it. That it's really just showing who you are. Right? You are basically showing that you are a reactive person versus being a proactive person. And maybe that's a great question for people to ask themselves. Hey, because how do you really decide, am I a procrastinator? I can hear it in other people as a coach. If John comes to me and says, I'm working on this thing. Actually, we were talking prior to today's episode and I was like, how is it? And he was like, no. It's not really. And I'm like, okay, all right. But I did go to call it out first because I sensed something, but we didn't get deep enough into it. So I don't really know what the goal was yet. So anyway, but
we'll come back to that privately.
We'll come back to that. But the point I'm making though, as a coach, if you are a coach, right, it's very easy, I think, or it should be. Sometimes it's easy to see when somebody's avoiding something. I had a client years ago who had this thing about cleaning her bathroom. I'm not even joking. It was a thing. And it was the thing that was throwing her entire life into a tizzy because of cleaning this bathroom. Why? I needed to do it and I needed to feed the dogs and get beautiful and do all the things, and stuff kept coming up. So it had to go to the wayside. And now when I look at it, is so much worse than when I needed to do it originally, that now I'm looking at it going, oh my gosh, now it's going to take me twice as long. And where's that time going to come from? I mean, it was like, and when I tell you that we spent sessions on it, and it sounds silly, really, she didn't clean her bathroom, who cares? She cared. And it was affecting her whole life. So we put some systems into place. And it literally changed everything, because I think that why we procrastinate is sometimes we make things bigger than what they actually are. It goes back to the adage of eat an elephant, it's one bite at a time. And literally, I said to her, this was a breakthrough because I didn't even know where I was going with it. And I said to her, what if you just cleaned the bathtub today? How long would that take you? Oh, it would probably take me a half an hour. Okay. So could you do that today? Great. And I kept taking her through that. And she cleaned the freaking bathtub. Sent me a message. I can't believe it. I cleaned the bathtub. Okay. So now what if you clean the shower? Because they were separate for her. She told me the whole thing. And she did it. So all of a sudden, it was like the skies opened up and the cherubs were singing. But it was huge for her. Again, it sounds so silly. But that was how she approached her entire life. The bathroom was just an illustration of how she approached everything. So now she literally had this simple little, okay, so what if I start with the tub? And then everything after that, when she was feeling that procrastination, she would ask herself, this was what she said, okay, so what piece of this is my tub? Oh my gosh, it changed her whole life, silly as it is. So anyway, that was a really great.
This is the question that's been sitting in the back of my head here, like just waiting for the right opportunity to bring it in. How do you feel about the statement, or even cliche, if you like, of how you do anything is how you do everything?
You're asking me, really?
I am asking you.
I'm like, is this an audience question? But I would say that it's I wouldn't say it's 100% ironclad, but it probably points to, yes, mostly how you approach the difficult things, right? It's usually not going to change from situation to situation. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Mostly true.
I see it as a fair generalization. You're likely that if you're a bit messy and chaotic in one place, there's a good chance we're going to see that in other parts of your life. Maybe not every part of your life. There may actually be a part of your life, or even your home, if your home's chaotic, that doesn't get brought into all that one part that you kept as your sanctuary. But for the most part, we're going to see that showing up somewhere else, I think. So as a generalization, yes, I think it can work quite well. As a strictly always true, no, not so much. But it can be helpful in that generalist sense. So
I think it's a great assessment. I think it's a great way to say, you know what, wait a second. Once I realize where I procrastinate, can I pick that apart and then look at that and shift lenses into the other parts of my life? How am I as a professional, if you are? How do I show up as a parent, sibling, family person? How do I show up in all of my relationships even? And how do I even show up for myself? The other thing and I'm going to tie this together because you brought it up and I didn't even really think about doing this, but one of the other pieces for this person was that her self-care was very similar to all the other pieces of her life, right? The bathroom specifically. So, in her mind, and I think it's an all or nothing mindset that she had, which is, I think, a big challenge for people who, I think it's a big, the red light. Why don't I know what to say red light? Big bright light? How do I know if I am? Are you getting things done? Or do you keep putting the same things on your calendar over and over? Do you even have a calendar? But her self-care, she would feel like, well, if I don't work out for an hour, then I ruined it. What would happen if you only worked out for 30 minutes, right? Put the bathtub. So she got back into her own self-care, her health and her wellness. It was like, if she ate one bad meal, which she considered, air quotes, bad meal, unhealthy meal, that meant the rest of the day she was eating unhealthy because it was very, help me with the word here. It was very all or nothing, but that's not the word I'm looking for. And I think that's what is, and something that brings on more perfectionism and procrastination is if I can't do it to 100, I'm not going to start doing it at all.
Yeah, it ties in somewhat with the awful goal setting principles. I hate the way most people teach goal setting, but it ties in with the awful goal setting principles of your goals being a pass fail really thing. It's like you aim for something and it's a pass or fail. If I can't do it 100%, it's not worth doing, or I've already failed. I haven't done it at all.
Yeah.
And that's not really a healthy attitude to have. If you don't win the gold medal at the Olympics, are you saying that the silver's worthless, or that the bronze is worthless, or that the other runners aren't still very talented and able athletes? I'm just saying running there is not the only Olympic sport, obviously, but just as an example, it's not failure. It's you are working towards something. Every step you take towards your outcome is a win.
Right.
Every little bit you do is a win. It's on the path to some sort of fulfillment or development for yourself. And if we reset our understanding of goal setting as being the goals really are the actions that need to be taken in order to achieve the outcomes that we want, then the goal doesn't seem like it's so far away. It doesn't feel like, oh, it's not worth going for it now because it's not getting us on, we're not at our goal. It's more, oh, if I can't do the whole thing, maybe I can do a bit, or I can do something today that gets me on the path, because consistency has so much more value than a huge, or what would you call it? I can't even think of the words right now. When you go all in on something and it's like, all right, I know I'm taking a massive leap right now, but that's not maintainable in the long term, but consistency is. As like you mentioned earlier about habits and systems, those are the things that are so important really in getting us to the outcomes that we really want to be, do, have, or create in our lives.
I'm looking it up. I can't remember what it is. Oh, it is. I thought it was dopamine. Here's something for people to think about. So when we complete something, when we accomplish something, when we get to a certain point, there's a feeling of accomplishment, right? That's a dopamine. I'm not an MD. There's no PhD, so don't come at me. But it releases dopamine. So here's the thing. When you complete one big task because you did it the night before, you get that release, that feeling of, like it's there, okay? But when you do it, it's one big rush of it. When you do smaller tasks along the way, and this is something to really think about, folks, in terms of how you're doing things, you still get the dopamine release even in the smaller tasks, which then motivates you to do the next task. The reason why all or nothing, that's why all or nothing generally doesn't work for most people. Generally, it doesn't, because we're not there. There's nothing to keep us motivated, right? That we're not getting that feeling because I just have to do this now. So it's something to think about, because I worked with a lot of people who were on health journeys, and then some of them included weight loss. And part of the challenge is celebrate the wins. If you have 50 pounds or 10 or 5, I don't care how many pounds you have to lose, right? You have to celebrate the half pound or the pound. And when you do, it actually will motivate you. It is actually the springboard to the next space. If you look at it and say, I only did this, guess what? Then you're setting yourself up for failure, because you have to look at that the puzzle doesn't get put together with one piece usually, right? And understand that there is something that will actually help motivate you to move forward. That's huge.
Yeah, I do think that there could be a big connection between impatience and procrastination, and that might sound paradoxical, but sometimes it is our impatience to achieve our goals and outcomes that can cause us to procrastinate about them, or things aren't happening fast enough, so we end up putting stuff off or falling away from stuff. We
rush through it, or trying to rush through it. I actually just had a friend of mine recently, a couple of weeks ago. We were just having a personal conversation, and he said to me, I was like, you're quiet. Why are you? And he's like, why are you always in such a rush? Why are you in a rush for this? This is something that is step by step. And I had to really think about what he was asking, because he wasn't wrong in what he asked me, because then I had all of this back end stuff going chatter. I hear my dad saying rush, next thing. And I was like, ooh, what is this? But what I realized, and it wasn't that anybody was wrong, it was that I'm a planner. So even if I know that I have something that I have to do and it's going to take a year, I have anxiety around the planning piece. I have to know what I'm going to do. And I'm sure this goes back. Where's all the therapists out there come at me. But I had that need to like, all right, as long as I know what I have to do, it feels good and it's good. But that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not for me, it's just not a great way to do things. It's really not, it's probably more counterproductive than it is productive. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things that come into procrastination, but I think that the overarching is that there's fear, there's overwhelm, like those things.
When I've worked with people on their businesses, which I have done for many years, there are common themes that I see come up that relate to procrastination. One of them is that they're always finding themselves fighting fires in their business. There's always a panic situation. They're always fighting fires. And that is down to that. There's those lacks of planning, the lack of proactivity that leads to like, it's not going to be easy to move from firefighting to proactivity and being on top of all that, but it is doable and it is essential as well. The other side of that is the people who are just too busy to know that. I worked with a lot of people who are transitioning from business or career into something they really want to do. Some of that we've both done, working with people who want to move into a public speaking business or something like that. And a lot of them who aren't doing the work, a lot of the time that is because I'm too busy. There's too much on my plate. There's this come up, or we just done this, or we just opened this new place. And so, well, there are other people who can do stuff, right? You're not necessarily the only person in the business, or even then, maybe it's time to get some help in so that you can make this transition or open up this other part of what you're doing. Yeah. Because busy is not always productive. Busy is not always effective. Sometimes busy is just busy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we fool ourselves sometimes, right? I agree with you that there's times where if you are in overwhelm, and if you really are a super high level person that's got, I don't know, I have teams of thousands and I have a lot of responsibility, and that's fine. But you have to be able to break things down and ask yourself, what do I need to do? What are the things that I cannot duplicate? Like I have to do it myself. Has to be mine. Yeah. And not from a control standpoint. I'm saying literally like it has to be done by you. And what do you like to do? What do you not like to do? And then start asking yourself where you can delegate. Where does it make the most sense so that you can give yourself back a little bit of time or a lot of time to make more informed plans on how you're going to approach things.
But here's an uncomfortable truth, and I want you to, not you, Angie, specifically, but I want our listener to listen very carefully, that if you are in a position where you want to make some change in your life that's going to lead to growth, maybe more success for you, perhaps more income, more clients, and you're not taking the action because you're too busy, it's not that you don't care about that result. Is that you're not actually giving yourself the ability to do that. Nothing is going to change, because what you really are isn't busy, it's stuck. You're stuck in your business, you're trapped.
Yeah.
And unless something shifts, it's going to stay that way. So the answer is to get yourself unstuck and maybe get some help to get yourself unstuck. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck there for maybe a long time, maybe the rest of your career or business.
Listen, that definitely happens. Have you ever coached somebody where, and let's just say they're new, like a coach, I'm saying that, because I've coached coaches, and it's so amazing to me. And it's going to go back to the beginnings, right? The introduction, the intro that we used today, that it just like stuff kept coming up, right? Life happened. And so I have literally asked these newer coaches, let me ask you a question. You don't even really have any clients, or a handful or less. How, if you're too busy to do these things right now that are ongoing, they're not really one-offs or whatever, how in the world are you ever going to fit another person? Where would you put somebody into your calendar right now? If I handed you, I said this to somebody specifically, if I handed you, I said, hey, I have too much. I'm handing you 5 clients. You're going to turn them away? No. You're so busy. Where would you put them? You're too busy, according to you, So where would you put them? And that's another light bulb. Where would you put the $1 million client if they came knocking on your door? And all of a sudden it goes from a can't mindset to I would never turn down business. Sometimes, and listen, sometimes, and I'm not saying that sometimes you are doing the right things and you grow and you're, oh my gosh, I'm doing 15, 20 clients a week, but that's all I can handle. Now, how do I scale, right? That's a whole different business conversation on how you do that. But this is like new, you're just starting out and you're so busy. And I'm like, I sit there and I scratch my head and go, okay, 1 week, all right. But week 2 and 3, you come back to me and say, oh, I'm just so busy. I'm gonna come at you and say, so if I handed you 5 clients right now, where would you put them? They're each going to pay you $7,000 to $10,000. Would you have the space? Yeah. So then why wasn't this? So it's also what we deem important, relevant, and necessary. So there's a lot of questions there that have to be answered.
Oh, yeah. I hear a lot of time, because one of the questions I often ask people on calls is why not, or what's your obstacle to achieving this? Why don't you already have it? And a lot of the time I'll hear, I should do this, or no, I'd like this. Why haven't you? I suppose I should prioritize it. Are you doing that now? Why isn't it already a priority? Right. And so we do have to dig into that. We do have to call this about. It's interesting that the conversation is measured into like some of it's coaching ourselves, some of it's coaching our clients, but either way it helps us all.
Yeah.
And that's so much of what coaching is a lot of the time. I very much like as a coach to also help people instill small habits that can affect that thing of the how we do anything being how we do everything principle, if you like.
Yeah.
That if we can find small ways to be proactive, that can start to spread and have that awareness of, all right, yes, I'm being proactive, so that you know that you're doing it. If you drop something, pick it up right away. If there's something you can do in 2 minutes, do it now. That kind of mentality.
Well, so wait, but here's the thing, because I agree with you. I'm a firm believer that in the whole bathroom cleaning theory that I gave earlier, I don't want to get into that again, but there are a lot of coaches and trainers and leadership trainers that will say, well, do the hardest things first. That just doesn't always work. Because sometimes, depending on who it is, sometimes doing the smaller things, again, taking into consideration things that I don't know right now, time constraints and whatever, but sometimes just doing the smaller things helps to the dopamine thing, right? And create momentum so that when you get to the harder thing, there's some positive energy behind that. Not everybody is getting in the dirt initially and getting dirty and doing the hard thing. It doesn't work for everybody. I think it's a very specific type of personality that will do that. Think surgeon, think somebody who has to be on in a moment and in a really super important way. That type of person that works with, because they have to show up and they have to really, we hope, right? and be on point and all the things. But that whole theory, and you've heard it. I mean, has anybody not heard somebody say, let's just do the hardest things of your day first? That doesn't always work. So when you try to fit that into a box, if it's round and you're putting it into that square bowl, it's not going to work. It just doesn't work for everybody. So I don't believe that's always, let me do my day that way or my week.
I think the last element I want to come to is about the role of accountability in coaching procrastination. How important do you see accountability as being as a tool for coaching with procrastination?
Okay, I'm going to say this. It's huge. But I as a coach, I am very cautious on accountability because I'm not their mama and nobody's getting in trouble if they don't do the work. So I want to be really clear that I've had people say, I need an accountability coach. I'm not an accountability coach. I'm going to hold you to things. But I think that what happens sometimes is when people are working in accountability, there's a fear behind that. And it's because they feel like, I've had clients say to me, I'm sorry, Angie, I just didn't get to the work that we talked about me doing in between. And my answer is not, why not? I'm like, okay, so tell me about it. What happened this week? I have to know that so I can help them. Did you make an attempt? I need to get the back end work done, but I think accountability is important so that you as a coach can show your client how to get out of that space. And again, I don't want anybody to ever feel like they are answering to me. And it happens a lot because I don't want to call it a position of authority, but like my clients look at me as like a leader. I am the leader of this, what's going on. So I accept that responsibility. But when I'm talking about somebody like setting goals, that person that I talked about earlier, I never once made her feel less than or embarrassed or ashamed because she already felt that.
Yeah.
She was feeling a ton of that.
Yeah.
So I took the responsibility of doing accountability with her, but in a positive way and say, okay, tell me what happened. What do you think? Whatever it was, because the conversation kept happening. I didn't want to ask her every week. So what happened?
Yeah.
We know what happened. We didn't do it again. Okay.
Yeah. There's a line between tough love coaching and being an arsehole, but there's definitely a distinction. I'm the same. Like when it comes to accountability, yes, I'm going to ask for permission to hold you accountable, but the accountability is going to be, did you do it? And if not, we're going to, and I'll frame this up beforehand. If not, we're going to take a look at why and see what we can learn from that and see if we can actually make some changes that are going to help you move forward or perform better this next week. But it's not about, oh, you fucked up, didn't you? What a piece of trash. You're worthless. Who would that help? You might.
Listen, but have you ever seen coaches do that? I've been involved with
I know there are coaches who do.
Yes. So I know it might sound like we're going extreme, but I'm going to tell you that there are absolutely people that I've coached with that have said to me, why didn't you? With a tone, and I'm like, oh, I felt like I was getting scolded. No. If somebody ever, listen, I'm going to say this. If you scold somebody, shame on you. And if you ever feel scolded, you need to change coaches. Anyway, keep going. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
I agree 100%. The goal really is to help you improve. The goal is not to make you feel like crap. Yeah, I'm sure there's an argument to be made for the client needs to push back against that and go, no, you're the arsehole and I'm going to prove you wrong, and like the reverse psychology kind of stuff. I think most people are wise to reverse psychology these days, and it is really not very effective. But there are times where I think you can be a little provocative with them. But in my mind, accountability as well. I will ask a client, what's the best way? Now, if we had a Ulysses contract, the sort of thing like tying you to the mast, so you have to do it. Is there a way for you to create that Ulysses contract where it's like, you have to do this, and is that going to help you? I've used it in rare situations with clients because most people, we can just figure it out. But sometimes we have had to look at things like, okay, maybe there needs to be a penalty for not doing this. I generally don't encourage that, but is that something that's going to help them? If I ask them, if it is, then we'll set that up. What's the penalty for not doing this? No.
Well, I think that there's some coaches use reward systems. If this happens, what will this do and whatnot? I myself personally, I stay away from that. One thing that I actually do though, as a tool, is I will say to them, so tell me about a time when you didn't procrastinate. Tell me about a time you had a tough deadline to meet or something that was just really, it was so hard for you. And you actually felt proud of yourself. You actually remember how you felt once you got it done. And I will tap into that because it's theirs personally and say, what's that? Oh, it was this. Maybe it was in college. I don't care when it was, because we can tie ourselves back into those past memories and then say, okay, so what did you do then that maybe you're not doing now? Can you tell me that? Take yourself through that process. That is something that you can intentionally do with somebody to teach them how to hold accountability without being the asshole.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody's not a failure at everything they've ever done in their whole lives. You know that. So try and bring them back to something where they did feel success or whatever, something positive, getting something done. and let that be their guide. So that person that I talked about earlier, for the rest of her life, maybe there were other things because I didn't use that with her, but for the rest of her life, she's always going back to the bathtub because that was her first step. So where's my bathtub? Whatever that is. So anyway, don't be an asshole. Just saying. Like, don't be an asshole.
An interesting take that I think that I will finish on is that very often I do encounter, I'm sure you do as well, clients who feel stuck, clients who are feeling stuck in procrastination or in some other way, or they feel like their life's not moving forward. They feel a malaise, a general sort of feeling of sadness or apathy or whatever. It always turns out to be like, oh, I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know why I feel this way. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times they don't. It's nearly always because they're not taking any action. And so something as simple as cleaning the bathtub or taking a walk or doing something is action. And really, as I said, that it doesn't always matter what the action is, so long as you take some action and you start creating a bit of an action habit for yourself. Is that movement towards something is always going to be better than just feeling like you're just stuck in one place and that you're not going anywhere. You talk about that whole sort of principle of you're going to feel more fulfilled in general when you're taking some kind of action towards something that you want, not just in life in general. And if you're not feeling that, it's because you're not taking action towards things that you want. And so that's how we can understand it. So small actions, clean the bathtub, take a walk, tidy up your papers, clean your desk, whatever it is, but take some small action. Coach your clients to take some small action to move forward.
Yeah. Agreed. I absolutely think that's a great philosophy. Do something, right? Just do something.
Just fucking do something.
Sometimes you feel like that, but we don't talk like that except to each other.
Not to our clients. But if you just do something, don't care how small it is. Small, simple, doable actions. I love them because you can create consistency. You can create habit. They're manageable.
Absolutely. Big changes. Lots to talk about. Another thing, and we'll maybe do this in another session because I know we've talked about energy, but sometimes when there is so much overwhelm, the energy, you have the plan, you're not afraid, but sometimes you just don't have the energy for it, right? Mental, emotional, like that's a huge whistleblower of procrastination as well.
Oh no, I'm sure our listeners are going, oh yeah, but what about this? Or what if this? What if? Yeah. I'm sure there's lots of questions. Well,
so ask us. We would love to know those, right? If you have questions, definitely reach out to us.
And here's how you can do that. You can leave us a voicemail. It's free. You can do it online. You go to www.speakpipe.com/The Coaching Clinic Podcast, and you can leave us a voicemail there. And if you do that and we like it, we might even feature you on the show. That's the best way.
What if we don't like it?
If we don't like it, we might feature you on the show anyway, just because we're like that. Or find us on LinkedIn and leave us a message there. You'll see we're pretty active there, and you can always get in touch with us, and you'll probably see me posting lots of annoying posts about our show. Much more besides. So
teasing and making fun of Angie.
Get in touch with us and leave us your comments, leave us your questions. We'd love to hear from you. But we'll be back with another episode next week. So until then, have an amazing week.
Bye for now.